Here we go. Episode 50 of the Hardline Sports Talk. I am Michael Merlo, joined by John Michael Masiri. JM 50, the big one. How you doing today?
Yeah, half century. I'm good. A lot of news to get to. Can't believe we made it to 50. Here's the 50 more, I guess. And
Yeah,
beyond that.
you sound like we turned 50.
Yeah. I'm ready to go. How are you, Michael?
I'm good. Good mood. There's so much to get to today. I mean, between all the coaching firings, we've got the national championship that just ended college football on Monday. And, just the playoffs starting. It's a great time to be alive. We also have our list, the top 10 shortstops in Major League Baseball. So pretty excited for this episode. I do want to start with the coaching firings, though. How many were there? There was like five. I mean, there were like four firings, but there's like
Five.
There could be
five.
seven jobs, five firings. So you had Fangio, Nagy, Zimmer, Flores, Judge, and you also have Urban Meyer fired from the Jaguars and possibly the Raiders job opening. So we're going to talk about the other firings in a minute. We are going to start with the New York Giants. They fired Joe Judge late Tuesday, and kind of a surprising move, just considering the fact that the Giants the Giants ownership, they liked Judge and did not want to fire him. There were reports a couple of weeks ago saying he was safe. His job was safe. The owners wanted to see him for a third season, but between the press conference after the Bears game and I think the third down play where they ran a QB sneak on 3rd and 9, I think this all factored into it, and just the embarrassment. But Joe Judge out, Dave Gettleman, retired. I'm still pissed about that. The Giants should have fired him, but they let him retire. He's gone. So the Giants have already started their GM search, but Joe Judge is out as the Giants head coach.
Yeah, he's done. This has to be some sort of record now. This is going to be their fourth head coach in 6-7 years, whatever it is. So yeah, that's the first time I can remember something like that happening in a while. Maybe Cleveland did it with the Hugh Jackson and all those guys, but the Giants have definitely gone through plenty of coaches over the past couple of years. It wasn't really. You said it was surprising. I was more surprised by the timing of it. He made it through Monday, so you started feeling that he was going to last. They were going to bring him back for one more year, and then late Tuesday night, the news came out. So yeah, I mean, if you told this to a Giants fan or a football fan in general at the beginning of the season, it probably would be a big surprise to them. Some Giants fans were already. I know Michael Kay was ready to put Joe Judge in Canton already. And there were a lot of fans that had big optimism for this guy. So it just shows that how quickly things can change and kind of unwind. But
how I viewed this. You ever watch Friends, and when Ross and Rachel, they get drunkenly married in Vegas, and they have to get a divorce because they're not getting married. And Ross says to her, he goes, "I never thought if I got married to you, I'd be divorcing you."
Yeah.
If you asked me last season that Joe Judge would be fired after a second year, I would have called you crazy, because I was one of those fans that really liked him after the first year. I loved him.
Yeah.
I loved his press conference. I loved this whole first season. I was into it. I bought it. So it's like the ex-girlfriend that you thought was going to be the one, but something happened and she got away. It's pretty crazy.
With the way the Giants season went last year and the way he was being treated in the media and the fans were treating him, with that stacked on top of, you didn't think the Giants would really want it would have to be really bad for him to fire another coach, after 2 years. It definitely is a big surprise. But like you said, it seemed like week after week, it just kept getting worse and worse with him. We talked about that press conference last week after the Bears game. That was horrible. And then, like you just mentioned, that back-to-back QB sneak. I mean, you're embarrassing the franchise at that point. The fans have every right. If I was a fan there, I'd be booing the living crap out of them, and they have every right to do that. I mean, that's one of the most embarrassing things I've seen on a field over the past couple of years, for sure.
I think what also led to the decision of firing Judge for John Mara was the view, outside the organization. I mean, you have Aaron Rodgers going on the Pat McAfee show and talking about the Giants running a 3rd-and-9 QB sneak.
Yeah.
Like for Aaron Rodgers to be bringing that up, that's pretty crazy. And just overall, I think, with the way the media ended up viewing him after the press conference and just after all these different fiascos with him over the past year, I think ownership realized, it's going to be tough to find somebody that wants to work with him and get a qualified candidate to be a general manager. And also, if you were going to keep him, he needed new assistants on the offensive side. So you needed, basically half of another coaching staff. So why wouldn't you just start fresh? It makes the most sense here to just start fresh. And, listen, ownership's got a big task on hand now. They have to get this right because the Giants, who, in my opinion, they're embarrassing. They're irrelevant. They're one of the 3 worst teams in football right now. And if they don't get this right, and they, God forbid, in the next 5 years, they hire a GM, they hire a head coach, it doesn't work out, you're looking at more than a decade of being irrelevant, embarrassing, and you get to the point where you are the Cleveland Browns, you are the Detroit Lions of the NFL. That can't happen. So this is why these 2 hires here are going to be one of the most important hires, 2 of the most important hires in franchise history.
Right. Yeah, it's a crucial time. I mean, I feel if you're a Giants fan, I feel like if there's a time for there to be a teardown and for you to feel somewhat comfortable about it, I guess this is the time because you have the draft capital, you have some guys coming off the books. You're not doomed. Next year, get that out of your head. This team is not going to compete next year unless, something absurd happens. But get the coach right, get the GM right, get that relationship good. Who's it going to be? Who knows? Obviously, there's names floating around now. Brian Flores is going to be a hot name on the market. Jim Harbaugh's name is coming up, which, to be honest with you, if I'm Jim Harbaugh, I don't know why I would leave Michigan. But, money. So they have, obviously money is king. But they got everything they need at their disposal right now in terms of draft capital. And, you have the quarterback figured out for now. I think it's still salvageable with Daniel Jones. We saw the way the Giants offense operated without him. I mean, what were they scoring? 8 points a game or something like that? Something absolutely horrible. Granted, Jake Fromm and Mike Glennon should probably be working at Kmart instead of, being a quarterback in the NFL. But what's it's not the worst time for this to happen.
No, I agree. I mean, it's needed at this point. And you need one of these rebuilds where you completely tear everything down, kind of like the Jets are going through right now. But what's the concerning part about all of this? And I was speaking with a couple of our friends the past week or so. Glennon last season was with the Jaguars. Mm-hmm. And when he played, he didn't play that much. But when he played, he looked like a competent backup quarterback, a guy that can move the football. He wasn't turning the ball over every play. And granted, the Giants' offensive line is putrid, so there's really nothing he can do about it. But the fact that it was almost impossible for them to move the ball, the fact that they, needed to run the ball and, basically 75, 80% of the time and only throw the ball 11 times versus the Bears when they had Glennon in there, it's pretty sad when it's come to. And, you say it, when you have to make so many excuses for a coach, probably time to move on. Right. And yes, the roster was terrible. We understand that. I believe still that I don't think he was given a fair shot at this just due to the roster constraints, but it was time to move on. It's time to get a fresh start. It's a good thing. And to get the general manager and the head coach on the same timeline, it works out for the best, I think.
I really wouldn't be surprised if Joe Judge gets another job somewhere else as a head coach, whether it's this offseason or in the future. I could definitely see him coaching again because, like you said, I think a lot of people might think, he didn't really get a fair shot. He didn't get enough time, blah, blah, blah. They're going to like his resume, the background with New England and everything like that, just like the Giants did. And, you can't call me crazy because Adam Gase got a job after getting fired from the Miami Dolphins. So I think if Adam Gase can get a job, anybody can.
Yeah, I genuinely do think he's going to get another job. Yeah. Would not shock me at all. He'll go back to Mississippi. He'll go to Mississippi State, back to Bama, go back to
No, I'm talking about in the NFL. Though.
Oh, I know. I think he'll. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he'll get another. I think he'll get another head coaching job.
Yeah.
Like I think he'll go to one of these schools. Maybe go back to Belichick.
Right. Something.
Fix his brand and then get back into it. We view it. When we talked about Billy Epler, when the Mets signed him to be the general manager, we thought, when you looked at his record and his resume from the Angels, it wasn't great. But there was an asterisk next to it because we all knew what he was dealing with Art Moreno, one of the worst owners in all of baseball. And we were like, okay, well, this guy was holding him back. Right. This guy would step in and meddle in. When you look at Judge, something that's going to be next to his name was that he had an absolutely terrible general manager.
Yes.
That didn't give him a chance. He was handed a quarterback that maybe was reached on at number 6, and he never got to select his own quarterback. So, the excuse, yes, they sound like excuses, but these are also reasons why he didn't succeed. And, I think franchise will realize this.
It's
very quickly. Oh, yeah, you go.
It's like, I feel like this is a pretty good analogy for it. It's like when Joe Judge comes over and Dave Gettleman's already got this team in place and he's trying to do his own thing, or, when Adam Gase comes to the Jets and Mike McCagnon's there doing his thing, or, it's like finding a partner, a wife, a husband, whatever, and either starting your own family or you marry in, the wife's got 2 kids already and you're just picking up where they left off. They're already 5, 7, 10 years old, whatever. And you're just trying to pick up the pieces and do the best you can. And if you ask me, I'd rather start my own family instead of, come into a situation where I got to, get thrown right into the fire kind of a thing. So I think that's the best way for teams to build to build their teams. I feel like
start your own family. Don't join somebody else's.
Right. I think the Jets are doing a decent job of that so far. We'll see what happens, but I think the Giants should go down that same road, and they will.
Well, it's a little different because Douglas was hired with Gase.
Yeah.
And then, it ended up working out that, they like Douglas a lot. And now Douglas hired Saleh. So, it fell into place very nicely for them. The Giants.
Saleh was able to still, it was like basically he was building his own team because, Darnold got shipped off and there were a lot of moves.
They were starting the rebuild essentially this season. Like they've been rebuilding, but the first one failed. And we kind of went over this last week where that rebuild failed. And now we're like in a new rebuild here. Listen, I pray to God it works out. And just very quickly, the man that's calling the shots, John Mara, spoke today. Just very, very quickly, he made 2 good points and then a couple of bad things. Number one, he said, the Giant fans have no trust in ownership, and it'll take time for the ownership to gain the fans' trust back. He's 100% right. Nobody trusts them. I'm happy he acknowledged that. Number 2, he said this is the lowest point he has felt, for his team, and it's embarrassing. So I'm happy he acknowledged that. But a couple of things, he was very, very short when talking about his brother Chris Mara. People asked him what his role is and how he has influence, and he kind of got short with a couple of answers, and just he still feels like he's not gonna give ultimate control of the new general manager. He says he will, but it kind of seems like he won't, just with the way he's speaking.
Right. Well, that's not what you want to hear. Right. So
he says it, but he's half-assed when he says it.
Right. If I'm a Giants fan, I want him to have as little control as possible. Just like we talk about the Mets, we want the Wilpons when they were on the team. We want them out of it as much as possible. I think in any sport, honestly, any team, you want the owner involved as little as possible.
Right.
Right. Because at the end of the day, why do they own the team? They're a successful business person. They have loads of money and they have other commitments. You're a general manager. That's your job. That's your day job. So, a guy like Steve Cohen, yeah, he owns the Mets and I'm sure he devotes a ton of his time and he's probably got people that he's hired to do his work for him, but he's still got say in something else and a flow of money from something else. So
I don't know. He says it all the time. He's like, I have a day job. He loves doing this, but he's got a day job. You're right. I mean, this is the Mara's day job, owning the New York Giants. They don't really have anything else.
Mm-hmm.
but they're out of touch, and it needs to be fixed immediately. Listen, they have a really difficult job right now, right? Because ultimately, yeah, they are the owners and they have to sign the checks, but they have to pick the next general manager.
Yep.
And that's a huge, huge deal. All right, enough of the Giants. Let's move over to the Dolphins. The Dolphins fired Brian Flores in what was a surprise move. Things are coming out now a little bit. There was a power struggle between the general manager, Chris Greer, and head coach Brian Flores. Just a couple of things, really all relating back to Tua. I had heard today he actually got into a screaming match with Tua Tagovailoa at the end of the season. Players love this guy, so it's kind of strange, but ultimately, to Stephen Ross, the owner, he chose Chris Greer, and I don't know if I would have made that decision, but he didn't. And Chris Greer is a Tua guy. Obviously, he drafted Tua. Brian Flores, while giving support to his quarterback publicly inside the building, he wanted Deshaun Watson, and they made it known. And ultimately, the power struggle, he lost, and he's, I think, better off, but he's out of a job right now.
Yeah, he probably is better off. If I look at that, who's going to end up winning or, looking better after this, everything's all said and done, is probably Brian Flores. I mean, I think Tua does have a little potential, but it doesn't really seem like he's ever going to reach that potential that he had when he was coming out of college. But yeah, Brian Flores is the number one name on the market right now. I think he'll easily get a job, whether it's with the Giants, the Bears, whoever, even the Broncos. There's names floating around. There's teams floating around everywhere for him. But yeah, the power struggle. Listen, at the end of the day, that's what happens. You can have guys who have great relationships with their players, but when it comes to talking to the higher ups and talking to the general manager, the owner, whoever, he could have a horrible relationship. And I'm not surprised by this, because there was always something sketchy about the Dolphins and Watson, right? Like, we would always hear little murmurs about, the Dolphins are connected to Watson. They're willing to trade this, that. And the owner kind of shut it down. But Brian Flores would kind of always be like, not really go into details on stuff, say he had Tua's back, but it didn't really seem all that genuine. And I'm not surprised to find out now that there were problems. I am surprised to find out that he had a screaming match with Tua. That surprises me. But yeah, I mean, I was genuinely shocked when I heard the news. I think a lot of people were. This is 2 years in, and the Dolphins, they made the play. Did they make the playoffs last year?
They didn't, but they
just fell short.
They won a bunch of games.
Yeah, same thing like this year. They just fell short. And listen, last year, the Dolphins were supposed to be one of the worst teams in football. They were coming off that season where they got blown out by Lamar Jackson week 1, and it was like they were limping through the season ever since. Right. With Ryan Fitzpatrick as their quarterback. They had Fitzpatrick last year too. So hats off to Brian Flores for the job he did, and he'll have no problem getting another job in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. And he helped the Xavier Howard situation a lot. And I think Xavier Howard is going to be gone. That's their star corner. He posted a picture of him waving with the tweet that had an X. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to guess he's out. It is a tough situation. Ultimately, Stephen Ross, the owner, he didn't want to sign off on a trade for Deshaun Watson unless he settled all of his legal cases, and Deshaun Watson was not ready to settle, so therefore he wasn't going to make the trade. That's what I had heard. The Dolphins were the only team really Deshaun Watson officially waived a trade clause to.
Right. I mean,
and he wanted to go for Flores.
Understood. You're the trade it's going to take to get Watson. You're going to have to give up a lot of future draft capital, and you're pretty much throwing all your eggs in the Deshaun Watson basket. So if I was going to do that, I'd want to make sure that this guy is going to be okay. And, he's not going to be banned from the league once I trade for him. So I get that. So I kind of get both sides, to be honest with you. Do I think that this had to be a firing? No. Am I inside closed doors hearing what conversations go down? No. But, from the outside looking in, I don't think it necessarily had to go this way.
Right. From the outside looking in, and, we don't know what goes on inside the building. But if you had to choose, right, wouldn't you choose Flores over Greer? Don't you trust Flores enough where you say, okay, Flores, you're going to help us bring in our next general manager. You're the coach of this team. We really like you. You've done a fantastic job. You're the guy.
I mean, listen, you look at this Dolphins roster. It's not that impressive, to be honest with you. I mean,
one of the worst offensive lines of football.
Yeah, they got some decent names, young talent on the team. But you look around in terms of names and just overall personnel, you're looking for stars. You know what I mean? Like the wide receivers, pretty decent. You know, there's some nice weapons on there. You have your Mike Gesicki's and your Jalen Waddles, your Myles Gaskin, but none of those guys are really popping off the page. And yeah, like you said, the offensive line, not great. The quarterback, not great. The defense is pretty good, but again, no crazy big names. You got your Xavier Howards and whatnot. So I think he did a really good job. I was very impressed with Brian Flores, and yeah, I would have picked him over the general manager.
Yeah, I think so too. And you know, like we said before, I think Brian Flores is going to find himself in a better situation than he was with the Dolphins. You know, I kind of brought up a couple of days ago, you know, could the Broncos be a destination for him where he goes to the Broncos, who already have a good defense?
Similar situation.
You're in need of that star quarterback.
Yep.
And if Deshaun Watson, if you're Deshaun Watson and you wanted to go play for Brian Flores, that's your guy, makes perfect sense. So if that's the direction the Broncos wanted to go in, that would make a ton of sense. So I'm sure they're gonna interview him. And speaking of the Broncos, they did fire Vic Fangio over the weekend. That came on Sunday. I think he's a good guy. I think he's a good defensive coach. And he's going to be a hot name on the defensive coordinator list. He's going to get a job, obviously. But, you know, he kind of sounded desperate in his press conference saying, well, look at what I've had to go, you know, look at what I've had a quarterback versus who's in my division. He's 100% right.
He is.
And when you've had Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock as your quarterbacks and, you know, other names I don't even want to bring up, I don't even remember.
Joe Flacco.
When you're facing,
Brett Rippon, all these guys that
when you're
at quarterback last year.
When you're facing Justin Herbert now for the second year, when you're facing Derek Carr, who is a competent franchise, you know, right there as a franchise quarterback, when you're facing Pat Mahomes, it's not easy. No. So I think he'll get another shot eventually. Yeah, as long as he doesn't age out. But I
mean, that's the day and age we're in now. You know, you look at the way Vic Fangio, the job he did in Denver. You look at that resume over the last 2 years. You know, they're 7-6 this year. They lose the last 4 games of the season. They play in the best division in football, probably. Yep. And you know, they collapse at the end of the year. But you say, you know what, he didn't really do that bad of a job. You look at, you know, the quarterbacks he's had to deal with, like you were just saying. But that's the day and age we're in now. If you know, there's no time to waste. If it's not working, then it's a quick trigger. There's no more. Let's give this guy 4 or 5 years, figure out and see what he could do. No, I mean, we got guys. David Culley's name was on the hot seat, and he just finished his first year.
They might fire him still.
Yeah, they still might fire him. I mean, Urban Meyer, we know how that went. That's a little different off the field stuff, but that's what happens nowadays. And I'm surprised. I am surprised that Matt Rule still has his job.
So am I. I thought they were going to fire him.
Yeah.
But I think when you look at what he's dealt with on offense, though, nothing at quarterback. He's had his best weapon go down. Like, this is his last year, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think he'll get fired because I don't know how much they can improve in the next, you know, off season. Like, I don't think they're going to improve that offense enough to where they're a playoff team. So I think he's going to get fired. And if that was the case, if you had a mandate on the next season, you probably should have moved on. Crazy, though. Again, another guy that I thought just had no chance of being, you know, fired after 2 years.
Right.
The guy wanted. I wanted him over Judge, obviously. I mean, we didn't know who Joe Judge was, but
he came from Chicago, right?
Matt Rule.
Oh, Matt Rule. Okay, yeah, I thought you were talking about Fangio for a sec. Yeah, Matt Rule was. I remember I was interested in him when the Jets were looking for a coach when they hired.
He wanted the Jet job.
Yeah, and he didn't. He stayed one more year at Baylor.
I remember reading the Jets wanted to hire his assistants, and he was like, no.
Yeah.
And he went back and then eventually went to the Panthers and got a 7-year contract, a crap ton of money.
Especially after the Panthers fired Joe Brady. I thought
that quickly.
Yeah, I thought Rule was gone. But you never know.
You never know. Mike Zimmer fired. Rick Spielman, the general manager, fired. That was expected. Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace, the general manager as well. They are both fired from the Bears. I mean, sucks to play in Aaron Rodgers' division.
Yeah,
all these years.
I think Ryan Pace definitely outlived his contract.
Yes,
sure. He definitely got all the time that he could possibly get in Chicago. Should have probably been fired
2 quarterbacks
a year, not 2 years ago. Yeah, it's very rare you see a guy get 2 shots at drafting a quarterback.
And, we don't know what Justin Fields is, but they gave up a ton to go up and get Justin Fields. So, first of all, you better hope that works out. And second of all, you need to get this right because the Bears have really never had a legit franchise quarterback. They haven't. So you traded up, what is now the 7th overall pick in, 2022 now to go get this guy. You got to figure it out. And I'm not a Justin Fields fan, so I don't know. We'll see. But for Bears fans, man, I hope they figure it out. And I wouldn't be surprised. There's 2 teams where I think Jim Harbaugh, if he was going to leave Michigan, it would be a possibility. Number 1 would be the Raiders, and number 2 would be the Bears. I think those are 2 possibilities for Jim. Yeah,
I mean, the Raiders, at what point do you I'm blanking on the guy's name. What's their
Rich Bisaccia?
Yeah, at what point do you kind of give this guy a little shot? I mean, what an incredible job that he's done in getting this team to the playoffs. They beat the Colts, they beat the Chargers, they've beaten some good teams late in the season to get to the playoffs. And I'm sure they'll interview him, which is a bit weird because he has the position right now, but they'll give him a proper interview over the offseason when they're looking for their head coach. You got to seriously consider this guy to stick him around, though. Apparently the players love him.
Yeah. And if that's the case, then maybe you should, figure out what you're going to do with the assistants and, let him hire some guys, have some input. But you're right. I mean, it could be a possibility to keep him. Mark, I keep blanking on the name. Is it Mark or Al Davis Davis. Now? So Mark Davis is dead.
Yes. Wait.
And Al Davis is the owner right now. He's a whack job. So
no, Al Davis is dead. Mark Davis is.
That's what I thought.
Okay. Mark Davis has the worst haircut known to man.
He has a terrible haircut. He's an ugly MFer. He's a crazy dude. So it wouldn't shock me if clearly he just shelled out $10 million a year for John Gruden. It wouldn't shock me if he shelled out another $8 to $10 million a year for Jim Harbaugh to come over here and be the coach. So I think that's really one of the only, situations in which he leaves, or the Bears. He has ties to the Bears. He used to play there. I think he's from over there. So I'm not sure if he's from over there, but I know he played there and he has ties to the Bears.
Yeah.
So those are 2 situations where I see Harbaugh leaving. But yeah, you're right. At what point do you say, you know what, Rich, you're the guy?
Yeah. Listen, I'm telling you, we were just talking about the Raiders. I think they have a real good shot this weekend.
So do I.
Against Cincinnati. I think they have a good shot. And I'm gonna come out and admit this now because I think it's about time. I have been maybe one of the biggest Derek Carr haters over the past year, 2 years, whatever.
Really?
I am at that point where I think I'm ready to say I was wrong. He is. Some people are going crazy saying he's more valuable than anybody else to their team in the NFL. Okay, relax. But he played his ass off on Monday or Sunday night, and I think he is very valuable to that team, and he's a really good leader, great locker room guy. And can throw a good football. I think Derek Carr is definitely one of the. I'd probably put him top 12, top 13 quarterbacks in the NFL.
You can win with him with a good roster around him. I truly believe that. I've believed that for a while. I've been a Derek Carr fan. He seems like the like you said, the greatest teammate, the greatest person. I listened to a couple of interviews after the Henry Rugg situation and the John Gruden situation with emails, and just the type of guy he is, man. He's very close with John Gruden, like very close. They live next door to each other. That's how close they are. And when that all happened, he went over there and he consoled him and he was with him and he did an interview and he said, I love that guy. And he says he needs somebody in his corner. I hate the act he did. I hate what he did. It was, disgusting. And he knows he's wrong.
Right.
But like, you can't just abandon the guy.
Right.
And he's right. And the same thing with Ruggs. He's like, you need to be there for him. As bad as it is what he did, you have to be there for him.
Yeah.
He seems like a fantastic human being and a guy that you do anything for.
It takes a lot of balls to do that, especially the society we live in where cancel culture and everything like that is so, it's so strong now. It takes a lot to come out and say something like that. So I'm sure he's loved by his teammates. He's loved by that organization. And the Raiders got like a lot of adversity this year and they've made it and they got that little, Cinderella story thing going for them right now. So, even with that taken out of it, I just look at this matchup for them against Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati's a good team, but I think they're vulnerable. And I think if Max Crosby is being as disruptive as he was on Sunday night, I think they have a really good shot at winning on Sunday or Saturday, whenever the hell they're playing.
That's Saturday. Let's go right into it. We're going to talk about the playoff matchups we've got. I agree with you. I believe that the Raiders are going to at least cover the spread. I think it's 5.5 points. I think they're going to keep it close. Yeah. Actually, do you want to talk about? Let's just talk about the game very quickly with the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
Since you did bring up the Raiders, that's a good segment. So the Raiders, obviously, they beat the Chargers in one. I honestly think this isn't getting enough credit. I think it was one of the best regular season games in a while.
I think it was the game of the year.
It was the game of the year, and it was one of the best regular season games we've seen in a really long time.
I watched that game from start to finish. Probably one of the only Sunday night games where I did that this year.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, just thinking, what other games are candidates for that for game of the year this year?
Week 1, Bucks Cowboys was very good.
That was a good game, but that was better. The Raiders game was better than that.
Yes.
The Rams Niners game honestly was pretty good.
The week 18 that was good. I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
I can't really think of anything right now.
I know we have to go back.
The Ravens, Steelers, the Ravens were involved in that go for 2 at the end. The Steelers were in a lot of close nail biting games this year.
That Patriots Cowboys game was very good.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of the top rated games.
Bills Titans was really good. That Monday night game.
Titans was very good. I happen to think the Bills Patriots games were both good. I liked that very cold weather type game.
Right. So, the Giants, the football team, week 3, that was a very good game. Week 2, whatever that was.
That was a really good game, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to me, that's game of the year. The only other one I could think of is that Chiefs Chargers game when they went to overtime. Kelsey scored.
Yes, that was really good too.
That was really good. But the Chargers, I feel bad, honestly. The Chargers have had some heartbreaking losses the past 2 years, like bad.
I think it's been a little longer than 2 years.
Yeah,
let's just explain it very quickly. The Raiders beat the Chargers 35-32. They kicked the game-winning field goal. They could have let the clock run out at that point. The Raiders got the ball first, kicked the field goal. Chargers went down the field, kicked the field goal. 32-32. Raiders get the ball back, 3 minutes to go. They're running the ball down the field. They get to the 50-yard line. It's like 30 seconds left. Staley called a timeout. He wanted to change the personnel on the field. Next play, 15, 20-yard run, kick a game-winning field goal with 3 seconds left. That I didn't even explain the fact that with 3 minutes to go, the Chargers were down 15 points and had converted on like 6 fourth downs.
They had like a 16-play drive or something, right?
Yeah, 19. I think it was 19 plays. 75 yards to tie the game. Unbelievable. Herbert, just showed how fantastic he was. But I want to tell you how crazy the field goal was. So obviously we know now if there was a tie in that game, both teams would have made the playoffs. The Steelers would have been knocked out after the Jaguars had beaten the Colts. and the Steelers beat the Ravens. If there was a tie in the Sunday night game, Steelers out, Chargers in, Raiders in. If there was a tie in that football game, the sports books would have lost hundreds of millions of dollars because people bet the tie. People also parlayed the whole scenario.
Yeah.
And the odds were crazy. So people weren't risking a lot and they were getting paid out a crazy amount.
Yep.
And the sports books would have been down crazy. It would have been one of their worst weekends, they said, in a few years, of course, on the opening weekend in New York,
right? Which
would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
But we were so close to taking them down. We didn't. Carlson at the field goal. They win. So it was pretty crazy. I mean, I think they had a bad weekend overall, but yeah, unbelievable.
I mean, if there was a tie, I would have stopped watching football or sports in general because
simulation.
It's a simulation. Exactly. There was, how many times do we see a year? One, maybe two. And the fact there's 256 or whatever games a year in the NFL, and the fact that
we only had one this year.
The last one would have been a tie. Yeah, that would have been absurd. And I can't. People were talking about doing a kneel off, but at the end, that's kind of what might have happened. But Brandon Staley called that timeout, which was definitely questionable. I mean, even if take away the tying scenario, just trying to win that game, that timeout doesn't really do anything, honestly. You only had one timeout left, whatever it was, and they got the first down. So I didn't really get it. But yeah, if you don't know if you don't know Justin Herbert is a problem yet, wake up, because that's a bad man. He is one of the zip that he has when he throws the ball. It's unbelievable. He is one of the most accurate quarterbacks I've seen at that level in the NFL, to your second year in the NFL, in a really long time. I mean, he is fantastic. If I'm a Raiders / Broncos fan, I'm depressed right now because you have to deal with Mahomes and Herbert in that division for the next 15 years.
Listen, I think he's going to be better than Mahomes. Like, I think we're going to be talking about this guy as the best quarterback in football. That's how good he is. I
crazy statement.
So it's not. It really isn't. So
can we get all the good quarterbacks out of the AFC, please? This is just stupid at this point.
Keep it. You
got Rodgers is on his way out. I think he'll be in Green Bay next year, but in terms of age, he's on his way out in the next couple of years. Brady's going to be retired in the next couple of years, we think. I mean, he might be 50 in football. And then Russell Wilson's getting up there in age. The AFC has Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. Like, can we relax, please?
No, you're good. You can keep them. We don't need any more over here. We'll send Russell Wilson your way to the Steelers. How about that?
Oh, thanks.
You see what Big Ben said today as we talk about the
playoffs? Is that real?
Here? Yeah.
It's a weird statement to make.
He said, something along the lines of, nobody really expected us to be here. We're probably the 14th best team in the playoffs, and we're double-digit underdogs. So let's just, basically we're going to wing it. Nobody expects us to be here. Nobody expects us to win. So he's taking that underdog mentality. But it's weird. Like, you're admitting you're the worst team in the playoffs.
Did you see what Najee Harris posted on his story?
No, what'd he say?
He posted explicitive what? I'm sure you could figure out what that word is. Yeah, and I think he deleted it like really quickly, but I think it's real. It's pretty funny. You should look at it. I'll send it to you.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, why would you say something like that? Like, you could say all you want. We're the underdog. Nobody expects us to win. You could say that.
Yeah.
But to say you're the worst team in the playoffs, admitting, that maybe you didn't even deserve to be there. Like, what are you doing, Big Ben? I mean, listen, I understand. You see the posters or like pictures going around. Big Ben's retirement party, Kansas at Arrowhead Stadium at 8:15 on Sunday.
That's funny.
It's pretty funny. I mean, listen.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's this is probably the biggest lock of the playoffs in terms of who's going to win that I can remember.
You want to hear something really funny?
What?
teams that I saw this trend on TikTok today. I'm a big trend guy when it comes to betting. Teams that are like have a negative point differential in the first round are not only 5-0 against the spread, but 5-0 straight up.
Wow. Yeah.
In the wild card
round. I think they're about to be 5-1.
But then the other trend I like says bet a team that didn't cover, the week before against a team that did. The Steelers covered, Chiefs didn't, so you'd bet the Chiefs. So it's
right.
I don't know where I'm going there.
There's too many stats in your head. You got to get it out.
I know. It's just take the easy one that they just destroyed them.
Right.
Very quickly, we've been going on for a little while here with football. I'm very excited for this 49ers Cowboys game. I don't know where I'm going yet, but I think it's going to be a very, very close game. I'm going to say this. I joked around with your brother before. The 49ers are not a good matchup for the Packers. I think that would be an interesting game.
I've heard that. Yeah.
In the divisional round for the Packers, if the 49ers can pull off this upset.
Yeah, I mean, the Niners are kind of that team that you don't want to play. That's kind of the way it seems like with a lot of these wild card teams. You have the Niners and the Eagles. Two of them have two of the top 3-5 offensive lines in football. And then
good running game.
No, the quarterback's not great, but yeah, good running game. The defense is pretty good. So yeah, those two teams could be candidates for upsets. I don't think the Bucs are going to lose to them. I think it might be a decent game, but I don't think the Bucs are going to lose. And yeah, this Cowboys game is going to be interesting. The NFC, the Rams Cardinals, and the Cowboys Niners game, I am still very torn on. I don't know who I think is going to win. But yeah, Green Bay, if I'm Green Bay, I think the number one team I'd want to play besides the obvious, I'd want to play the Eagles. I'd say Arizona. That I would take my bet with. I would want to play Arizona if I'm Green Bay next week.
Agreed. Or Dallas on the road. They're a different team at home than they are on the road. So I'd want to play Dallas on the road as well. The 49ers, not a good matchup. They run the ball. They get to the quarterback. Nick Bosa, he had a fantastic year coming back from the ACL. Be interesting. I'm very excited.
Fun fact
for that game.
Fun fact about the Packers. So they've lost, was it 4 NFC championship games now in a row? Something like that. Not consecutive years.
Yeah.
But, the last 4 NFC championship games they've been in, they've lost. The team they lost to, they also lost to in the regular season. There's no team in the NFC playoffs right now that they have lost to. So could be their year. They beat the Rams. They beat the Cardinals. They beat the Niners. So they haven't played the Bucs.
That 49er game was a candidate for game of the year as well. That was a great game.
Yes, that was a very good game.
So I hope we get, we haven't had that many fantastic games this year. We've had good games, but it's been, pretty tough for us to think of really great games off the top of our head. Right. Maybe we're just going to get a bunch of them in the playoffs.
That'd be nice.
Right? That'd be really nice.
I'm so excited for this super wild card weekend. That's going to be something else.
I know I'm going to be working Saturday, but I'm not too upset that I'm missing the Raider Bengal game. I'll be good for this game I want to talk about, the Patriots Bills game. It's going to be freezing again. Like really freaking cold. It's going to be, and do you see this now? I've seen this for a few straight weeks. Josh Allen throws the ball so hard. Like that's difficult to catch in the cold weather.
Oh, yeah.
I'm starting to lean toward the Patriots are going to go into Buffalo and beat them.
I wouldn't base my decision off of that. I mean, obviously that's going to play a factor, but
just the weather, just the weather in general kind of benefits them.
It's going to be a really good game. I mean, this is the rubber match. The Patriots went into Buffalo, beat them. Buffalo went into New England, beat the Patriots. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be, I'd imagine, a pretty low scoring game, but you never know. Real quick, I'll start off. I want you to give me your ranking though for what games are you most excited to see and what games are you least excited to see. So my number 6 is easily Steelers Chiefs.
Right.
Number 5 is Bucs Eagles. 4 Raiders Bengals. 3 tough decision. 3 I'm going to go Cardinals Rams. 2 I'm going to go Niners Cowboys, and 1 I'm going to go Bills Patriots.
I agree with you at the top two.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see this Patriots Bills game.
Yeah.
Number 6, I would say it is. Oh yeah, like you said, Steelers, Chiefs. Next would be for me probably Raiders, Bengals. I'm intrigued for the Eagle game
Okay.
because
The
the
Bucks
Bucks
are banged up.
defense, the Bucks are banged up and they haven't stopped the run like they have. I think the last like month or so, if you took those stats and like went, through a whole season, I think it's like the last, it's either the second half of the year or like the last month of the year, their run defense has been one of the worst in the league.
Right.
So I think the Eagles are gonna be able to keep that close. Then I would say I'm not really looking forward to the Ram Cardinal game. I think it's gonna be a sloppy game.
Okay.
And then
I-
like the top two you said.
Same top two. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the Bengal game will be pretty good. But like you were just talking about with the Bucks, they're pretty banged up, and that defense is not what it was last year. But like the NFL hasn't played on paper. It's about who plays well in the playoffs, so they could catch fire at any point. But it's not as dominant as it was last year. So we'll see.
I'm seriously starting to consider putting a wager on Bucks Chiefs Super Bowl.
On rematch,
Yeah.
I really hope the Bucks don't make it again. That'd be like the last thing I want.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm a big Brady guy.
Yeah, I know.
I wouldn't mind
Well, if the Patriots win this game, they play who?
Titans.
Depends who wins,
if
but
the
most
Raiders
likely the
don't
Titans.
win. Yeah.
So I think the Patriots, if they beat the Bills, I'll start getting scared that, they might make it to the Super Bowl because I don't know. I think the Titans are going to get bounced out in the divisional round. Depends who they play, but
Really?
yeah, I'm not crazy about the Titans.
I like the Titans a lot.
I'm still not. Like, I would be surprised if the Titans made it to the Super Bowl. And I know that's crazy to say because they're the 1 seed and they have to play one less game and they have home field and everything like that. But I think the Chiefs are better than them. I think the Bills are better than them. And I think, the Patriots can probably go toe to toe with them and, the Bengals and whatnot. But I'd be surprised if they made it.
I'm starting to really like this Titans team. I don't know if Tannehill could play the way he has the past couple of weeks. I really think they have a shot.
Mike Vrabel should get serious consideration for Coach of the Year too.
I think he's going to get Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
Now
that Staley, now that the Chargers fizzled out, Staley's out.
Who else would it be?
Zach Taylor.
Yeah.
Decent shot.
What's really funny? I have a bet on Staley to actually win Coach of the Year at plus like 1,500.
They made the playoffs. You might have cashed out on that.
I know.
McCarthy, honestly,
I have that ticket in my room. I forgot about that.
All right. Is it list time?
We're gonna take a break though.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so we'll be right back. That's enough of football for today. We're gonna talk college football when we get back after our list, top 10 shortstops after this. Here we go, episode 50. We are back, the Hardline Sports Talk. We're going to start off with baseball here. We're going to do our lists, top 10 shortstops coming into the 2022 season. This is a stacked position. I think we both were kind of surprised with the list, the names we got here. I think it was the best one so far, right? Just based on names and players throughout the top 10 and a couple of guys left off the list.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start off today. I'm gonna start with 10. This one hurts. I got Francisco Lindor at 10.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
I wanted to move him up. And listen, by the way, if this guy shot up to 6 or 7 this year, which I honestly think he will, because I think he's gonna have a big year, wouldn't shock me at all. Obviously, I'm predicting it, but based off of last season, and I'm taking a little bit of 2020 into account, 10. He didn't do anything special. His second half was good, and at a 132 WRC plus in the second half. So he obviously played great defense throughout, even though his struggles. His first half, he had under a 500 OP or 600 OPS, under a 600 OPS in the first 2 months of the season. It was a brutal start. That's why his numbers look as bad. He did figure it out toward the end of the year, but that brutal start really killed him, especially with his numbers. I think he'll be better this year. His defense, his defense is still, it was great the whole time, which was impressive. So Francisco starts us off at 10.
Yeah, you're not fun. Like I'm trying to have fun with this list and be a little different, and you're not fun at all because I have.
No, you thought that I was gonna have him higher.
I thought you were gonna have him a little higher than that. But yeah, Francisco Lindor is number 10.
I've been real. I'm trying to be real here.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, when you have a bad 2021 like that, I'm gonna look at your 2020 a little more, try and see, do you have some backup for that? And his 2020 wasn't great either. So listen, Lindor, I'm not just saying this because, if people want to come at me say I'm a Yankee fan and I'm being biased, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about that. I think he's always been a little bit overrated. I mean, I don't think he's ever had an OPS in the 900s. And, you don't need to do that to be a great shortstop. I mean, it's the most important defensive position in the game. And, it's not somewhere where you expect a lot of pop out of. But if you want to be considered a top 10 player in baseball, which is what people were calling him when the Mets traded for him last year, believe it or not everybody, but some people, you're going to have to do that. And he's never really done that. And, the year he had last year, like you just talked about, not great, better in the second half. He basically was what he has been in his career in the second half last year. What was low 800s to mid 800 OPS, something like that.
Yep.
So yeah, I think this is a good spot for him. 2.7 FWAR, 103 WRC plus. So pretty average year last year for him from the offensive side of the plate. And there were I thought about Javi Baez for like a split second, but I've never been the biggest Javi Baez guy either. And when you look at the numbers, still Javi Baez has been inconsistent as well. So I like 10 for Frankie.
Yeah, I considered Baez too here, and I didn't go with him. I've been very critical of Javi Baez, so I don't think it would have been fair to put Javi Baez here. All right, number 9. If we have the same list again,
I'm gonna be so mad.
We're gonna have to do something.
Yeah, we're gonna have to start fixing it.
Yeah. All right, I got Willie Adams at number 9.
All right, good.
Willie Adams got traded over from the Rays to the Brewers early in the season, and he went over there, and at one point, he was their MVP. I remember people at one point in June or July calling for this guy to get MVP votes.
Yeah.
He went over there, started hitting, and he was a very big player for them. Very important reason why they ended up, they started off the year a little slow. They ended up getting it going with him, especially offensively. Had a 119 WRC plus, a 4.1 WAR. Very good. Very, very good season from him. Just couldn't figure it out in Tampa, but goes over to Milwaukee and was a really good player. So maybe he's really found his home and, can continue this. I think he was a little inconsistent in the second half, but, he's a young player still.
I'm scared for you because I honestly don't know who in the rest of my top 10, because Willie Adams did not make my list. I don't know who you left out, but I'm going to have a problem with it. Maybe it's this guy. My number 9, Trevor Story. He would be, honestly, before this season started, I was considering him top 3 up to even 1, believe it or not. He's a guy who's been really freaking good in Colorado. I would be very pleased if the Yankees signed him this offseason. 3.5 FWAR last year, 100 WRC plus, had about, I think, exactly an 800 OPS. Had a down year last year, but 5-tool player, can steal bags, good defender. Maybe he has a little course field effect when he leaves. I hope not. But Trevor Story has been a fantastic player in the MLB for a long time now. Kind of underrated, honestly. Number 9, Trevor Story.
Who did I forget? I don't think I forgot anybody.
All right.
I really didn't forget anybody. I thought I didn't put Baez on the list. If you put these two guys on the list, I'm going to have a problem.
Okay.
No, I didn't. What? All right. Well, we're just gonna have to wait and see. Okay. Number 8, I've got Tim Anderson. Tim Anderson has been slightly overrated. I think that's pretty clear. He doesn't walk at all. Oh my! I just looked at this 4% walk rate, and that's not great. But he had a 120 WRC plus last season, a 4.3 WAR, pretty solid defensively. Added a little more pop last year to his game, and he's a high average guy. His on base is low. He batted 309, but his on base is only 338. Listen, solid player. I think 8's a good spot, and he's an important part of that White Sox team.
Yeah, you definitely forgot somebody. And, at the end, I'll allow you, when you figure out who it is, I'll allow you to make a change. And when I post the Instagram graphics, I'll put it up there for you. Because,
was it somebody that was hurt?
We're all human. We make mistakes. I don't know, but we're at that point because you just said Tim Anderson. He was the last guy where I would be like, if you left him off, like, okay, I'd accept it.
Oh, I see who I forgot.
If you leave off here, I'll let you bump down Lindor or Adames and say your real, start from there now. Insert the guy that you forgot. We can do it right now. Who is it? Who did you forget?
I forgot Seeger.
Yeah, I knew you did. Yep, you forgot him. So,
and that's the only one, I think.
Yeah, that's it.
I forgot Seeger.
So we'll leave
Frankie's
him out.
Off the list.
We'll leave him out for now. Tomorrow, you give me the new list with Seeger in it, and we're good.
He's high on this list too.
Yeah. So my number 8, Tim Anderson as well. 4.3 F WAR, 120 WRC plus, and the WAR number is 4.3. That's pretty good WAR, and he only played like 125 games last year, so he put that over a full season. That's around a 6 WAR. I like Tim Anderson. He's broken out. He broke out in 2019, and a lot of people thought it was a fluke, and maybe he wasn't really going to project into a great player, and he's doubled and tripled down on it. He's just proven that he's not a superstar, but he's a star. He's an all-star level player that I'd love to have on my team, and he can really do it all. His defense isn't amazing. It's not bad. And I think it's gotten better over the years, and he can steal a base. He could basically do everything for you. So he's got the swag. That's always a plus. I like Tim Anderson at number 8.
No, but you make fun of Lindor for having the swag.
Well, he's, I don't know. He's just Francisco Lindor.
I made my change.
All right.
I want to edit the list now, though.
Okay, then do it. Restate your top 10 now. Did you kick Lindor off?
I'm taking Adames off. I'm taking Adames off.
Yeah, look how weak you are. You didn't have the balls to take Lindor off. You just...
I'm taking Adames off, and I'm going with Tim Anderson at 9. Eight would be Trevor Story. Okay. And now 7. I'm to 7 now, right?
Yeah, you're at 7.
7, Bo Bichette.
Okay.
Bo Bichette, obviously of the Toronto Blue Jays. Very, very good player. Young and exciting. You want to talk about swag. I love me some Bo Bichette. Pull up his numbers right here. Bo Bichette last year with a 4.9 F WAR. I think we can round that up to a 5. 122 WRC plus. Okay, defender, but a great offensive player. Drove in a lot of guys last year. Steals bases, 25 bags. Got the pop. I really like this guy. How old is he? He's very young. Son of
Dante Bichette.
Dante Bichette. I was going to say Dante Bichette. 23 years old. Good luck with that in that division with Vlad Guerrero.
Yankee killer already.
Yeah, he is fantastic. When I watch him, whenever I'm watching him, he's hitting line drives.
Mm-hmm.
Like not even, just always hitting the ball hard. I'd love to see what his hard hit rate is.
Yeah, he's got a really nice swing too.
Beautiful swing.
My number 7, I got a guy who had a holy crap rejuvenate your career year like everybody on the San Francisco Giants did. Brandon Crawford I have as my number 7. And I'm okay if you want to put him higher on your list.
I did.
I mean, he finished 4th in MVP voting last year, 5.5 FWAR, 139 WRC plus. He's always been a fantastic defender, and then he stacked on top of that a great offensive year last year. I'm going to keep him here, though, just because I don't expect it to happen again next year. I could see another nice year out of him, but I don't think he'll finish top 10 in MVP voting. And, you know, the previous couple years, he wasn't even you would laugh if you put him in your top 10. So I really like the year he had last year, obviously, but I'm going to keep him at 7.
Okay. I respect that. At number 6, I went with your boy Xander Bogaerts. Bogaerts signed what?
Brutal.
Well, you think he should be higher?
Yeah.
This is number 6. I mean,
yeah,
got some really good players ahead of him.
All right.
I thought 6 was a good spot for Bogaerts. What happened?
Putting Brandon Crawford over Xander Bogaerts after one good year. Dude had 0.3 more WAR. There, Bogart's been good 3 years in a row.
I'm a big fan of Brandon Crawford. I always have been. I understand it was like a breakout year, but I think he's gonna have. Listen, it'd be crazy to think he's gonna have a similar year, but it's still, like you said, a solid year. And we'll reevaluate after this season.
Fair enough.
I have to base a lot of what I saw from last season. No,
I mean, Xander Bogaerts has been one of the most consistent hitters at this position. You know, probably you put him in the top 3 in terms of consistency. And
I'm looking at it right now. He's been fantastic.
Yeah,
33 home runs in 2019. He hit 11 in the 2020 season. He hit 23 last season. He had a 6.8 WAR in 2019, a 5 point in 2019, a 5.2 this year, a 4.9 in 2018. I mean, you're right. He's been an absolutely fantastic player.
But he's 6.
He could be 5 next year. I just read everything. 23 home runs, drove in 90 guys. I'm surprised. I mean, he stole bases early in his career. He's not really stealing anymore. He signed a weird contract where he has an opt-out, I think, after this year now.
Yeah.
And when he signed the contract, it was like, not really, what you would think for him. He was, really bursting onto the scene. And then he had these last couple of years, and now he's set up for a big-time payday next year, I think.
Yeah. My number 6, I have Bo Bichette at 6.
Okay.
Yeah. We just talked about him. Stud, Yankee killer already. Going to be a problem for a while. Also, I think he steals a couple bags every once in a while. He's a pretty athletic guy.
Bo Bichette, 25 bags last year.
Yeah, I could definitely see these offensive numbers going higher and higher year after year. Like we said, he's only 23 years old, but Bo Bichette's my number 6.
Yeah, number 5, like we had brought up before, I have Brandon Crawford. He had a really, really good season last year. He got MVP votes. He's a wizard defensively. He's fantastic. And the power numbers were there. And I think that's what's going to keep him relevant for, a couple more years. He kind of found that power stroke. So I think, he had a career year with home runs. This is the most he had is 24 in his whole career. The only time he came close was when he was 28. He had 21 home runs. So I think he's kind of found this in his game. And I think he's going to have a nice year. A 139 WRC plus, a very, very good season for Brandon Crawford. And like I said, he got MVP votes, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, no, he definitely had a really impressive year last year. My number 5, I got Corey Seeger. 3.7 FWAR last year, 147 WRC plus, which is really, really high. This he could be 2 on this list. But he's had trouble staying on the field the past couple years. Played around 90 to 100 games last year. Has dealt with injuries over his career so far. So just got a big, big payday in Texas. He'll be playing shortstop for them or third base. I don't know what they're going to do. They got our boy Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who's also a free agent. But maybe they bring him back. Maybe they bring him back. How much money they got left? So yeah, Corey Seager, number 5. One of the best hitters at this position, easily.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock you at all. Really, if he had a fully healthy season, he's my number 4. If he had a fully healthy season, Would it shock you if this guy was 2 or even close to 1 on this list?
It wouldn't shock me if he was the AL MVP. You know,
Right.
he's a stud.
He's a fantastic hitter. And they paid a lot for him, but the injuries are much.
Yeah.
And I think that scared a lot of teams away. Not the Rangers, good for them. They spent $300 million on him. And we'll see what happens. But Corey Seager's 4.
Still a young guy, too.
28 this year. He's gonna
number 4. We were just talking about him, Xander Bogaerts of the Boston Red Sox. Yeah, I mean, there was one point this season people wanted to put him 1. That he was having such a good year. I mean, I would never put him there. But you look at his numbers. You just went over them. He's year after year putting up these big WAR numbers. You know, he's putting up homers, high average, RBIs, OPS is up there. So definitely one of the best offensive guys at this position. The defense has gotten better. Not great still, but not bad either. Xander Bogaerts, number 4.
Very nice. I listen. I had him at 6. I really like Xander Bogaerts. Like, there's nothing, against him. I really like him as a player.
3, 2,
number
1's
3.
a lock now.
Is it same order? Because I almost went a little kinky.
Yeah, so did I, but I didn't.
I didn't either. Okay. I got Carlos Correa, number 3. Free agent. Carlos Correa had a huge year, 5.8 FWAR. Hit 26 bombs. Health is an issue for him as well. And, that may be scaring some teams off. He's had back issues. He's had, trouble staying healthy, playing full seasons. He played 148 games last season. I think that's the most in his career. No, 2016, he played 153. But after that, nothing really close to that. Well, the next highest was 109 in 2017. 110 in 2018. Sorry. So tough staying healthy, but he's a fantastic player. He's going to get paid a ton of money from somebody. And we'll see what I honestly, we've kind of forgotten about it. I don't know who's paying him that money. Like, I genuinely don't know who's going to give him that contract.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe he's unsigned for a while, like he makes it into the season. I don't know. The Yankees are definitely in play for him. I don't know how much they want him. They're in play for Story.
I really don't think that's a good idea for the Yankees.
I mean,
I think Story makes so much more sense.
Right. I don't know how many years I'd give this guy. He's had, like you said, he's had problems with injuries.
And a back injury at 20. He's gonna be 27 this year. A back injury at 27.
So he's my number 3 as well. He's been inconsistent over his career, but when he is playing to his potential, he is a superstar. No doubt about it. 5.8 FWAR, 137 WRC plus. He's clutch. He's a fantastic defender. He can easily transition to a third baseman as he gets later on in his career, like A-Rod did.
Reminds you a lot of A-Rod.
Yeah. I remember when he was coming up, that was the comparison for him, A-Rod. Carlos Correa, wherever he goes, he's going to be a really good player if he stays healthy. If it's the Yankees, sure. If it's Houston, maybe. It's not Detroit anymore, which I thought was the Yankees' biggest competition. But
I thought it was a lock for Detroit. Would it shock you if they went back at it or no? Like, you don't think they're interested at all?
Maybe put
after
Baez
signing Baez
second or put him at third, but they got Candelario. I don't think so. I don't think they would do that.
I mean, if it comes back to them where I love talking free agency. I mean, oh my God.
Yeah.
If it comes back to where he's unsigned, people don't want to give him that money and they come back and maybe the price is where they kind of thought originally it would be. Do they do it? I don't know.
Maybe, listen, I could see this definitely being a Manny Machado situation, right? Who was talking about Machado going to the Padres in the beginning of that offseason? Really nobody.
Who's going to be that team that comes out of nowhere?
Oh, yeah, maybe there's that John Heyman's trademark, that mystery team that comes out and actually signs him. I could see that happening. Who would that team be? Maybe the Cubs. Yeah, maybe. There you go. Maybe the Cubs have interest in him. Maybe Seattle. I know they have, JP Crawford had a nice year for them.
You have the money to spend.
Maybe Seattle. So wherever he goes, I don't know. But I know who your number 2 is, and
Let me do 2 and you could do 1.
I know. I wanted to put him 1 though. I almost did the same thing that you did, but go ahead.
And this guy's haunted me for a really long time now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a fan. I'm so happy he's out of the division. Yeah. Trey Turner is number 2. I mean, like we said, we tried our best to put him at number 1 and we couldn't. But this season was crazy. I mean, you looked at the 2020 season and he hit 12 home runs, and his career in 59 games and his career high in 162 games was 19. So we kind of saw the power go up big time. He had a 588 slugging. Yeah. And then this season just went berserk, hit 28 home runs. He had a 536 slugging. He played in 148 games. I mean, listen, he's a good defender. He steals a ton of bases. He's one of the fastest, if not the fastest guy in baseball.
Yeah, no, he's literally 6.9 the fastest guy, I think.
6.9 F4, an unbelievable player, a guy that, was getting considered, for an MVP. He got traded, obviously, from the Nationals to the Dodgers in the Max Scherzer trade. I mean, come on. He's so good, and he's turning into a superstar right in front of our eyes.
Yeah, he definitely deserved MVP consideration this year. And, I'm sure if you do a GM poll around the league, he's going to be right at the top of the list for who out of anybody in the league would you want on your team, because he's probably the definition of a 5-tool player. He's got positional
right now. Yeah.
He's got positional flexibility. He's the fastest freaking guy in the league, and now he's added power to his resume. So yeah, he's definitely scary. I wanted to put him 1, but you can't put him over Tatis. I mean, no. The numbers for Tatis, another guy who almost won MVP. If he played a full year, he probably would have. 6.1 F4, 156 WRC plus. Absurd. This guy is one of the best hitters in the league. He is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer at the end of his career.
If he stays healthy.
Yeah. I mean, I can't. This wasn't like the other positions where like Vladdy with first baseman. That was a lock. Jose Ramirez, that was a lock. This one was like kind of a lock. But if someone put Trey Turner 1, I wouldn't be like, you're an idiot. And I almost did it. I really almost did. I wanted to, but I couldn't.
He's unbelievable. I mean, 42 home runs in 130 games.
Yeah.
People don't realize, and people, a lot of fans were like, oh, all you do on the MLB account, all you do is post Tatis. There's a reason.
Yeah.
He's one of the most exciting, if not the most exciting player in all of baseball. So I got to see him play when they came and played the Padres came and played the Mets at Citi Field, and I saw 3 at-bats, with him against DeGrom, and it was unbelievable. I mean, it was like best on best, especially at that time. It was early, it was in June, and it was great. And the place was crowded. He draws a lot of attention, a lot of fans. He's a special player, and I'm excited to watch him for the rest of his career.
I just thought, what do you say? So we're doing this segment, right? Until we do all the positions. How about at the end, we do a little like top 10 everything? Like, who's
you want to add pitchers into that or
top 10 players in the league? Yeah, we could add pitcher. I mean, it's always hard to assess that. Yeah. If you want to leave them out, if you want to do just position players or whatever, but because I was thinking like where Ohtani, are we going to do designated hitters? I don't really think so. I mean, there's 15 designated hitters in the league,
right?
Top 10 designated hitters. So maybe we'll do that at the end.
We could do that because Ohtani's going to be like top 3 at that point.
Yeah. All right. Summary time. Lindor 10, Story, Anderson, Crawford, Bichette, Seeger, Bogarts, Correa, Turner, Tatis.
And I thought you were a Willie Adams guy for whatever reason. I thought you were gonna have him.
No, I mean, he had a nice year last year, but I wouldn't put him on this list.
All right, I got Lindor, Anderson, Story, Bo Bichette, Xander Bogarts. 5 was Brandon Crawford. 4 Corey Seager. 3 Carlos Correa. 2 Trey Turner, and number 1 Fernando Tatis.
Yeah, you wish.
All right. Very quickly before we wrap it up, let's just give a shout out to the Georgia Bulldogs, who did finally slay the dragon on Monday night. They beat Alabama 33 to 20 to 18, excuse me, 33-18 in the national championship game. Kirby Smart, for the first time in his career, beats Coach Saban. He was an assistant under Saban. That's really been known for a while. But both coaches were fantastic after the game. They had a mic over there after the game. They shook hands for like 20 seconds talking. Saban had said to Kirby Smart, "You guys kicked our ass in the fourth quarter." And then Kirby Smart asked about Jamison Williams, the star wide receiver that did go down for Bama in that game. But I think that's really when it changed everything. When Williams went down, and we both had money on the game. I had Georgia, you had Bama. I felt when Williams went down, unfortunately, I liked my chances better.
Yeah.
A lot better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. First of all, I think he'll be all right. He'll be a top.
Oh yeah.
He'll be a first round pick. But thank you, Alabama, for losing my friend money, not me. I'm not 21 yet.
Oh yeah.
My good friend.
Yeah.
Thanks for losing him money.
Not me though.
Yeah. I'm surprised. I really am. We've heard year after year, is Georgia going to take down Alabama? And I thought we both discussed it. We were very torn on this national championship compared to years past. This was really a toss-up. People were surprised that Alabama was underdogs. I was too. This was definitely one of those like Vegas plays where they want the public to feel that way, and it ended up working for them. But good for Georgia. Jamison Williams sucks, ACL. He'll probably miss time next year. They'll probably play at some point. I don't know. Some guys recover really quick. You got Cam Akers came back after tearing his Achilles in like August, which is unheard of. Achilles is usually a year.
It didn't seem like we saw the injury and they did slow-mo and you saw something pop.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a difference with like you say torn ACL. If you say torn ACL, it could be a 75% tear in the ACL and they have to go repair it, or it could be a 5% tear in the ACL.
You hear stories about guys tearing their ACL and they say, "Oh, they almost had to amputate the leg," and you're like, "What?" Yeah. And then you have other guys. Yeah,
they would call that a rupture of the ACL.
Yeah,
I'm a genius. I'm
sorry, Mr. Doctor.
I'm Red Cross certified now.
Right, yeah. You can
first
give
aid.
CPR. Nice.
Yeah,
that's all. Yeah, if I was choking and I saw you coming at me to give me CPR, I'd probably just
die.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, obviously there's different injuries for everybody recovers differently or whatever, but good for the Bulldogs. Man, every time this happens though, I always wish, like, what would it be like if I went to an SEC school? The way the culture's down there. And I have a buddy who goes to Georgia. He used to go to school with me. He transferred, sending videos. They're throwing traffic cones and just
I saw those,
going absolutely crazy.
You could transfer.
Yeah, you don't think it's too late?
No, you're good.
All right. Maybe St. John's wins the Big East championship one day. We'll
you go crazy like that.
Yeah.
But just very, very quickly on the game, and then that's all the time we got really for today. One of the reasons the main reason I believe that Georgia won was because of the way the defense played. They held them to field goals all game long, and then they got pressure on Bryce Young. And I had said it. If you get pressure on Bryce Young, you're going to be able to affect him. You'll affect the game. He's a young kid. He's a small guy too. And pressure has affected him all year. He's going to have to work on that, being better, getting out of the pocket, not making mistakes like that. They blitzed them all day long. So I just thought it was a fantastic game plan from Kirby Smart. That was the best front seven we've seen in probably a couple of years, honestly. Yeah, and this was their year, and they deserved it.
Yep. Good for them.
And I think
down goes the tide.
Down goes the tide, and I just would like to say to any SEC team or anybody that's to play them next year, I'm very sorry for you.
Yeah.
Because I would not want to play a pissed off Nick Saban who just lost to a team. Yeah.
Nice.
That would, yeah. Again, pissed off Nick Saban. Assistant just beat him in his own conference. He's probably a little mad right now.
Yeah, a little bit.
The throne's been taken from him. But that's all the time we got for today. I'm sending you my list right now so I don't forget to do it later.
Okay.
But I don't know when the next episode will be. But listen, gambling in New York now, if you're of age, be careful. 1-877-8. What is it? 8778 Hope NY.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And we'll give our picks on Instagram for the wildcard weekend.
Yep.
We'll continue those. I'll continue my domination.
Yeah. We got to add them up. I don't know what it is. I'm assuming you won, but I stopped keeping count after like week 10.
So did I. We're going to have to
figure it
really
out.
go through it.
Yeah.
I'm nervous.
Yeah.
All right. We'll talk to you guys next time.